Welcome to another edition of Jamaica Magazine, the show with the information to improve your life. I'm Theodore Henry. Today we go to Morosco Road in the corporate area. We'll be learning lots about the institution that's celebrating its 180th anniversary this year. Then later, what's the latest with the Jamaica Logistics Hub initiative? You'll find out in this special 10-minute feature. Stick with us, it's only 30 minutes and it will be worth your time.
As a result of the staging of the general elections, all schools will be closed at 12 noon on Wednesday, February 24, and all day on Thursday, February 25, whether or not they are designated polling stations. Schools will reopen Friday, February 26.
If you have a friend or a relative who is a Miconian, then you might be aware of the fervent passion that's associated with this teacher institution. Next, we have a special interview with the newly installed principal of the Mico. Dr. Asburn Pinnock discusses with host Ian Boyne the institution's contribution to Jamaica's development. Watch this.
Dating back to the mid-1830s, the Mico University College remains the oldest teacher training institution in the Western Hemisphere. Through strategic partnerships, the college has embarked on a number of programs aimed at ensuring greater access to opportunities. In addition to a long history of distinguished teacher training, the Mico has teamed up with the University of the West Indies Mona School of Business in Kingston to offer an executive master's degree in educational management. There are also partnerships with overseas universities to provide other postgraduate programs up to the doctoral level.
Thanks for joining us for Issues and Answers. I'm Ian Boyne. The Mico University College celebrates 180 years this year. This is an institution that has had an enormous impact on Jamaica, enormous impact on its education sector and indeed on economic development. Its president, Dr. Ashburn Pinnock, is our special guest. We thank you so much for your company. Dr. Pinnock, good to have you on set.
Thank you very much, sir.
Special year of celebrations for you at the Mico University College. Tell us about the legacy of Mico.
Well, as you just said, Mico is 180 years old this year, and it's a long time by any stretch. It's the first teacher training institution probably in the Western Hemisphere.
The Western Hemisphere itself?
I would think so. And it started as a training institution for the sons and daughters of slaves. And the trust was developed out of a charity, the Lady Mico Charity, whose husband died leaving a fortune. And then she in turn, the money was to be spent for a family member on certain stipulation. And he did not comply, so the money was used instead to send to develop education in Britain and then by extension to the colonies. And in fact, Mico schools were not just in Jamaica, they were in other islands. And this one is the only surviving of those in Antigua, in St. Kitts, I think, and other areas.
So interesting history.
So started in 1836. Yes.
And where was it originally?
It was originally downtown Kingston, where is the site of the Kingston Technical High School, where it is now. And it was now relocated in the early 1900s to its current location on Morosco Road. Yes.
And you have had a number of distinguished graduates.
Oh yes, quite a few, as you can imagine.
Yes.
At that time, it was probably the highest level of education in the Caribbean, and therefore it predates the University of West Indies and all the others. So that it was called the Poor Man's University.
Poor Man's University.
So you can imagine that anyone who's anyone in Jamaica pre-1950s would have gone to the Mico. And so it has a huge legacy.
So Mico has prided itself on its accessibility.
It has. It has. And there were no class, it cuts across all class barriers. And so if you note the distinguished graduates, you see persons moving from governor generals to the cane cutter's child.
Yes.
And so its focus was for education.
Absolutely.
Yes.
That's an important part of its heritage. How was Mico kept pace with the educational needs of Jamaica?
Well, we look at the needs, as you said, on the market. We examine the ministry's policies, and we now train to support that national development policies. And what we are doing currently is to try to reinvent ourselves. You know, it's easy to slip back into your legacy and tradition, and with those distinguished achievements in the past. However, we realize that what it took to train a distinguished individual 50 years ago, we have to change now, and with the advent of technology and new thinking, and where we have to. So what we're doing now is to look at the ministry's policies. We look at, for an example, the NEI report, and to see where the gaps are. And of course, we look at the demand and supply of teachers, because we are primarily a teacher education institution. So we're looking at all of that, and then we are now trying to adjust our operations to produce individuals.
You took over the presidency in September. What is your overarching vision, Dr. Pinnock, for Mico?
Well, my vision for Mico, as I said before, is to reinvent the institution and to take it to the next 180 years and to keep it relevant and to train individuals.
What are the specific ideas you have for doing that?
Well, one thing is to examine the needs. And one of the things we're looking at is the market-driven needs of our graduates. No longer are we demanding just a mere teacher. We are looking for someone who has other skills. And we're looking at the demand areas, for example. We're looking at the maths and science areas, special needs. Those are critical issues. And therefore, we are also targeting not just the Jamaican market, but looking at overseas market. In fact, we have done that a lot in the past in the Caribbean. We used to train for the Caribbean. However, many of those countries have their own institutions now. But we still have niche areas, as I said before, like special education, where we can train for that. We want to engage, for example, the recruiters from Britain and from the USA and other areas who are coming in and say to them, listen, let's make this a deliberate process. Instead of you coming and recruit our teachers in an ad hoc manner where we cannot keep track of who is going and where they're going, let us engage you. Let us discuss the cost of training. Let us train for you, and you provide us with funding to look at our labs, to improve our labs or our capacity. And we can partner with universities overseas in their country, for example, in Britain, to see how we can train a teacher here in Kingston that will walk into a classroom in Britain and fit in. And so we are looking at those things as part of the niche.
How much emphasis is Mico putting on continuing education, professional development of those who have already passed through its doors?
Quite a lot. I mean, one of our most significant department is our continuing education department. And the person in charge is at the level of a dean. And we are now looking, in fact, to partner with the ministry and the Jamaican Teaching Council to say, can we take on some of that responsibility of training the teachers that are out in the field with the licensing and those issues coming on stream. Persons will need that professional development to qualify themselves for licensing and relicensing. And therefore, we think that we are in the best position and with capacity to do so. So in the near future, we'll be approaching the ministry to say, why don't we work out a contractual arrangement where we can take on some of that coaching, that modeling, and that professional development aspect of and then you can focus more on your policy.
The president of the Mico University College, Dr. Ashburn Pinnock, talking about the thrust of the university as well as its 180 years of existence, an important institution. We take a break, but we'll be right back.
Parents, assist your children with their schoolwork. That means help. Don't do it for them. Every assignment, such as school-based assessments, SBAs, should be written and researched by the students. Doing the assignment is not helping your child, but rather teaching him or her to take shortcuts and even being dishonest.
SBAs are expected to be developmental. They are aligned to the syllabus, and it is really to assist the students in developing those fundamental concepts for them to do well in the examination itself.
Doing your child's assignment is a breach of the educational regulations which carry severe sanctions. Be of help. Don't be dishonest.
The president of the Mico University College, Dr. Ashburn Pinnock, is our guest. The university celebrates 180 years this year. Dr. Pinnock, the issue of teacher quality is a major issue here. The studies done internationally show that educational outcomes are tied to teacher quality. Our educational outcomes are not impressive in all the areas. Does Mico share in this failure?
I think we have to take responsibility for what happens in the sector. And if there are shortcomings, we have to look at it. If there are successes, we take them. So we should also take responsibility for that. But with a view to continue to improve our business of training and educating teachers. I do agree that teacher quality is a major factor. But I also want to hasten to add that there are other factors which we need to look at in terms of intake and output. And therefore, there are also factors such as resources, human and otherwise. In fact, educational resources. And as you know, in our context, we have an issue with funding and monetary, fiscal restriction of fiscal policy and all that. So because of that, the education system suffers. It takes 20 years for an individual to start reap the benefits. So persons do not necessarily want to start an investment in that, but it's the best investment that we can make. And therefore, we are challenged in those areas. But I do believe that we should look at that seriously and try to improve. So we at the Mico are looking at our courses and trying to see how we can improve what we offer and look at the NEI report again, see the gaps, and to see how we can fill those gaps to ensure that our output ends up with better quality.
Tell us about your activities finally for the year, your main activities.
Oh, yes. Our Mico 180th celebration kicks off in February, where we are looking at a launch and also a church service on February 28th. And the church service will be during the week, what we call a Mico week will come in March, between March 14th and the 18th. And our research day will feature heavily during that week, and that's March 16th. Now, we focus heavily on research because we realize that is going to be driving what we do in the future. We have to ensure that we use empirical data to drive what we do, and no longer trial and error. And in fact, we are trying we are using the NEI report as the basis for this research day, to look at leadership, as is pointed out, to look at pedagogy, to look at strategies, and also to look at the areas of maths and science. And so you'll see presentation based on those. And to go forward, we'll be doing research which will guide and help the ministry to guide what they do. And then in July, we'll have our 180th banquet, which will bring a lot back our distinguished alumni, and to encourage all persons to return to the Mico. We do also have a 5K run in October. And funds from this will be used to sponsor scholarships and to build our sports department that is doing so well. You know that we have the Cameron Blazers there with Bert Cameron. And of course the distinguished gentleman, Mr. Graham, K.C. Graham, are doing so well. And this year we have won most of the intercollegiate events. So they need support, and we think that we should find a way. So we are linking the 180th. And in fact, just recently we were invited to be a part of the Queen's 90th birthday celebration. And they invite us to join them and for us to feature the Mico in a publication that they're going to be.
So a lot of exciting activities.
A lot of exciting
for
activities
the celebration.
For the celebration, yes.
The Mico University's 180th anniversary. The president, Dr. Ashburn Pinnock, has been our guest on Issues and Answers. Next week I'll be back. Until then, Ian Bourne wishing you a pleasant day.
Jamaica, a logistics-centered economy. Global investors investing in mega projects. Special Economic Zone Act approved by Parliament. Jamaica is ready for increased global trade. Thousands of Jamaicans across the country, from high school to higher learning, trained in logistics management. More ships refueling in Jamaica and increased logistics operations in Jamaica. Capacity building for the business sector. The Jamaica Logistics Hub Initiative, rolling out across the country.
The Jamaica Logistics Hub initiative continues to unfold. Investors have been setting up shop, boosting job creation and economic growth. More Jamaicans are also being trained in logistics management, nurturing a profitable environment for global trade. Take a look.
Investors spending millions of dollars and thousands of Jamaicans being trained in logistics. The business environment is prepared to compete globally. By all accounts, Jamaica is well on her way to a logistics-centered economy.
Let's now focus on what logistics and the Logistics Hub Trust is about. I like to use an analogy with the Coronation Market. Simply put, Coronation Market is one specific location. Goods are coming into the Coronation Market from varying points of Jamaica. That's the farmers who bring the goods in. When it gets to the Coronation Market, in the first instance, the persons who are selling these goods add value to it. It's cleaned, it's bagged, it's processed in some small form in some instances. And then it's sold to a consumer, it's sold to a business place, it's sold to a caterer, varying people who add additional value to it. So then we take that concept and we put Jamaica in as the logistics hub. And for sure what we need to speak about is Jamaica becoming a logistics hub.
That central point where suppliers, service providers, and global businesses can converge. While our laws and systems take shape, the world is noticing that our little island is the perfect destination for doing business. So much so that hundreds of Jamaicans have found jobs in sectors like business process outsourcing, in call centers like this one. But before these men and women could have been hired, a proper framework had to be laid, including training and legislative reform. There have been new developments in the area of education and training. Jamaicans in rural and urban parishes have been armed with a multiplicity of skills. From information on what is logistics to understanding what a container is and how many loads a shipment may contain, to training at the secondary to tertiary level in logistics and supply chain management.
We have conducted 34,850 participants. We have conducted this training to face-to-face, in addition to several online and different, using social media.
The ship said, why don't we reorganize ourselves like the airline?
Training began with a course called Logistics 101. It's now been expanded to Logistics 102.
The 102 is an advanced course which again will make free of cost to the public. And this is now a 2-day training program, which we are now going to a specialized module where we're doing logistics and supply chain operations. We'll start by looking at the changes in the whole logistics industry, the impact of globalization, how branding affect, everything, the economic zones, and we're going to take this, as a slice where we get deeper and give people certain tools to be able to analyze the global industry. And this is a must-do.
Business people have also been given technical and financial support to strengthen their institutional capacity. The Jamaica Business Development Corporation, the JBDC, has played a key role with its island-wide mobile business clinics. Hundreds of small business operators are now equipped with the proper knowledge to advance their companies and improve job creation.
We have adjusted our business model to address those issues. For instance, we know that the whole business of global standards is critical because we're not operating within your parish, you're operating within the global market space. So they must be familiar and understand that global standards must apply to the services and products that they will be offering to the market.
Legislative reform is another critical strategy to position Jamaica as the fourth major node in the global logistics chain. Industry, Investment and Commerce Minister Anthony Hilton has spearheaded legislative reform and has implemented policies to ensure businesses can become more globally competitive. One new piece of legislation is the Insolvency Act, which consolidates the laws relating to bankruptcy, insolvency, receiverships, provisional supervision, and winding up.
The Ministry of Investment and Commerce has been doing a lot of work where MSMEs are concerned. So the Ministry of Industry and Commerce went ahead, they did an MSME policy, which really laid the fundamental groundwork for MSMEs to establish and have sustainable businesses in Jamaica. They have been a part of training programs in conjunction with the Development Bank of Jamaica provides grant funding for MSMEs to really improve the governance structures of their businesses.
Legislative reforms have revolutionized the local business environment, putting Jamaica at the top of several reports, such as the World Bank's Doing Business Report, the World Economic Forum's Global Competitiveness Report, Forbes' Best Countries for Business list, and the World Bank's Logistics Performance Index.
The business environment, the businesses that interact with the tax office, businesses that interact with the various government agencies, now will tell you, they will testify that the business environment as compared to probably a couple of years ago has greatly improved. A lot of stuff that they used to take months or a long time to get done is now happening at a very fast pace. Contractors are getting their plans approved even quicker. That means quite a few stuff has happened.
The government, through the ministry, has also attracted investors to build businesses to employ more Jamaicans, so much so that the country is being referred to as the sweet spot for investors. Following the Jamaica Investment Forum in 2012, the Sutherland Global Solutions Business Process Outsourcing Center was opened. Then in 2015, the ministry once again, through its agency, the Jamaica Promotions Corporation, hosted Jamaica's premier business event, welcoming more than 184 investors for 3 days in Montego Bay under the theme, Let's Do Business. The second Jamaica Investment Forum focused on displaying bankable projects with opportunities for public-private partnerships, the sale and development of property, and promoting joint ventures. More than $1 billion worth of projects were on show for investors who were notably impressed.
So if we, for a second, just drop off the logistics side and then focus on sustainable development. The objective is to ensure that we gain sustainable growth. The focus of logistics is based on the trend and changes in the global market. One of the first things, again, the ministry has been focused on is, for varying reasons, how do we improve our Free Zone Act? The Free Zone Act of the past was, well, where the WTO is concerned, had some subsidies and incentives in there that the World Trade Organization has said they no longer want in policies of that nature, such as 85% of what you manufactured there had to be exported, only 15%, etc., could go into the local economy. So we now look at the special economic zone regime to allow for backward linkages, allowing for the local economy to benefit significantly more, but also modernize it in such that it becomes more competitive to the rest of the world.
This would move Jamaica from simply being a transshipment port to a hub where value can be added, where industries can be created and jobs multiplied.
If you're that type of business who want to get involved in, for example, logistics businesses, you can get the necessary training. Training is available. Training provided by the Caribbean Maritime Institute. I know Fritz Pinnock, leading the Caribbean Maritime Institute, has gone ahead and prepared several programs preemptively to take advantage of the opportunities that are going to be presented. The Heart NTA is doing some amount of training, and you would have heard about Logistics 101 and 102, which has a free component in it that really provides training and really providing the information for businesses to take advantage of the opportunities that are going to be presented in the future.
Positioning Jamaica as the fourth major node on the global logistics chain is not an overnight job. It has taken years of planning and reform, training and commitment to a long-term vision. The Jamaica Logistics Hub Initiative is not a place, it's not a designated factory. It's a combination of activities and industries, all designed to ensure the country can offer the best services and goods to the world. Through institutional strengthening, capacity building, technical support, and legislative reform, investors are coming and businesses are being rolled out.
This is the Aedes aegypti mosquito that spreads the Zika, chikungunya, and dengue viruses. Protect yourself from the bite of this mosquito. A message from the Ministry of Health.
This is Decision Week, when as a country we'll elect our political representatives for the next 5 years. 72 years ago, in 1944, universal adult suffrage ushered in the right of all Jamaicans to exercise their political will and vote for those who should govern them. These many decades later, Jamaicans remain a democratic society that fosters the right to vote. Let's protect that right and guard it jealously. Come election day, let's be respectful of each other's decision. No need for intimidation, no need for violence. As you head to the polls, be mindful that your actions have consequences, and you are a part of the equation that will result in Jamaica being the place of choice to live, work, raise families, and do business.
As a result of the staging of the general elections, all schools will be closed at 12 noon on Wednesday, February 24, and all day on Thursday, February 25, whether or not they are designated polling stations. Schools will reopen Friday, February 26.
We leave you with this inspirational message. Change your thoughts and you change your world. We're on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook, so log on and stay in the know. Our website remains an active portal for all kinds of information, so pay it a visit when you have the chance. In the meantime, I'm Theodore Henry. Have a great week.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.